Story 1. I played The Walking Dead for background noise. I was about to take my life with a gun, and as soon as I put it to my temple, I heard Rick scream, "No!" 6 years later, here I am. I'm much better and happier in life. I just got married too. Story 2. I decided to take a day to wait to see my friend. I was driving cross-country to a summer job and had arranged to have a quick lunch with a friend I hadn't seen in a while, as I would be driving right through his town. Turned out he had misscheduled and wasn't home that day. His parents offered to let me spend the night so I could see him when he got home the next day. I was hesitant as I had never even met them before, and it is not like me to agree to something like that, but I did. I was able to reconnect with my friend the next day. I will be married for 20 years next month. Story 3. I agreed to substitute a spin class last minute for a master instructor. Everyone canceled except for about 10 to 15 people, and my future husband was one of them. Story 4. Had my finger on the delete key for an email, assuming it was spam, when something told me it wasn't. The sender and I just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary. Story 5. Year 12 in Australia thought the final exams were in 4 weeks. I studied hard and after 2 weeks realized I still had 5 weeks to go. I managed the studying and continued. I ended up doing much better than I expected and got into a course I had never considered. 40 years later, I have a fantastic career and a family, all because I got my dates wrong and rolled with it. Story 6. Taking one less tablet would have been fatal if I had taken it. I feel somewhat better now and I am looking forward to seeing my son tomorrow. Story 7. Committing to going to the gym for just 15 minutes a day. I caught the gym enthusiast bug, and people have noticed my weight loss. Story 8. I refused to accept poor advice from a negative friend. I was ready to leave my city for a better opportunity. I had a place to stay at my new destination. Although my car was not in great shape, it was still reliable and an asset. I needed that car because the new location did not have adequate transportation. The road trip was planned for 7 days. However, I liked to drink and ended up intoxicated after a night out. My close friend suggested I spend the night on her couch. My other friend insisted that I was fine to drive home, as he didn't want to wait overnight for a ride. After one car accident, thankfully with no injuries, I found myself without a car, and my friend disappeared. As a result, I took the bus to the new city. Without a car, I struggled to get around and relied on my hosts for rides to job interviews. All I needed to do was stay put and recover. Story 9. A lot of people have relationship stories, but here is mine. One day in college, a cute girl I had been talking to texted me and asked if I wanted to go to the art museum with her because there was an exhibit she needed to see for her class. I had class at the same time, and she only told me at the last moment. I decided to skip class and go with her, so I did. Now, 18 years later, we are married with 2 children, and she is the best person I know. I can't imagine my life without her. I don't even remember what class I skipped, but there's no way anything I learned that day would have been nearly as impactful to my life as going to the art museum. Story 10. Leaving my narcissistic ex in the past, I'm uncertain about what the future holds, but I know it is all for my highest good. Story 11. I joined Tinder on my first day in a new state, instead of waiting as I had promised myself after a challenging year in 2022. That same day, I met Story 12, getting sober. I was kicked out of college, sleeping on couches with no prospects. Now, I have been sober for over 20 years, am happily married, a father of 2, a business owner, a doctor, and a faculty member at an Ivy League graduate program. You can do it too, one day at a time. Story 13. Declining early decision job placement has effectively halved my lifetime income potential and limited the quality of my training. I may compensate for this by being studious, entrepreneurial, conducting research, and working hard to secure a promotion or 2, but I will likely never fully recover. Story 14. I took a part-time job as a teenager for $5.15 per hour at a company I knew nothing about. Now, I am a vice president and oversee 85 people at 3 locations and earn a significant income. Story 15. I left a toxic job for a new position that had a lower base salary but higher commissions and no benefits, as I am diabetic. It was a risky move at the time because the previous job had affected my self-esteem, but I interviewed and received the offer. I accepted it, which led me to 1. Doubling my take-home pay because I discovered I was very skilled. The girl who trained me on the systems and I started dating. We now live together, and I am close to becoming a stepfather to her 3 children. The increased pay and flexible schedule allowed me to return to school, which I just completed. The experience and confidence I gained at that job led me to another higher-paying position that is helping me pay off many of my debts and improving my situation while I search for a job in my desired field. Story 16. Like many here, my story is about meeting my future wife. My cousin was dating a girl, and one Sunday he called and asked if I could take that girl's friend home after the bar. Normally, I don't go out on school nights, but I was close by and said sure. Ironically, my wife also doesn't like to go out on school nights but had agreed because she hadn't hung out with her friend in a while. We've been together since 2011. Story 17. Selling pills at school with 7 days left in my freshman year, I thought, what are they going to do? Expel me? Yes, they will. It was a real fork in the road moment. Story 18. Back in university, I was in line collecting student loans when I bumped into a friend I didn't know well. He told me another mutual friend and he were going to Hong Kong for an exchange program in the summer and asked me to join them. I had never considered it before because it cost more than a regular program, and I was financially strained. However, my grades were not good, and the exchange program was considered easier, so I decided to go. I met my wife there. She was also from the same university back home, but we had never met before. She helped me get back on the right track in life, financially, academically, and emotionally. It's our 14th year together with our 10-month-old son, who is absolutely adorable. That friend I bumped into while collecting student loans is now one of my closest friends and the godfather to my son. Story 19. To reach out to someone after 15 years. I thought about them a lot but couldn't make contact. As soon as that changed, I did, and we haven't stopped talking since, except to sleep. I'm the happiest I've been in years. Story 20. When I learned to accept the things I cannot change the things I can, and know the difference. Story 21. I flipped a coin between a cheap laser engraver and a 3D printer, chose the laser engraver, and then COVID-19 hit. I was laid off, had some spare time, and decided to try selling a few items at a farmer's market. Now, I own 2 larger lasers and make a living as a woodworker. Story 22. Reading through here, most experiences are positive. Mine is more negative. I dropped a coin while trying to grab it from the bar stool. I was sober as I was the designated driver. I ended up twisting my knee, which created a tear in my meniscus that required surgery. This incident occurred when I was playing tennis at a decent level, 4 to 5 days a week. I had to stop playing for 6 months just before attending university. That combination of circumstances led me to gain 30 kilograms quickly. 15 years later, I still haven't lost that weight, and it has affected my life, mostly negatively, ever since. Story 23. Meeting someone who truly helped me emerge from the difficult situation I had created for myself. Story 24. Ignored a message from a relative. Apparently, everyone else did too. They said they felt abandoned in their note. Today is the anniversary of their death. Story 25. I sent follow-up emails to a professor sharing my insights and reactions to her lectures in one of my classes. She took me under her wing as a mentor and helped me get into a Doctor of Philosophy program, which I never saw myself doing before her course. Story 26. I had to sell some craft supplies to get some quick cash. I formatted the post incorrectly, and the group removed it, but during that time I received one reply. He bought my equipment at full price, which I felt was a bit of an overcharge, so I included some classes for free. When I got divorced, he was one of my only friends who wasn't mutual with my ex, and I confided in him. He was really supportive, and he helped me find a place to live while also being a great listener. I ended up moving into his girlfriend's basement, and we became friends. I was there for their wedding. Fast forward a few years, he is the one who convinced me to give a chance to the woman I had been on a few dates with but was unsure about. She asked me for another chance and opened up for the first time. That's when I truly recognized her honesty and kindness. We soon became serious, and she continues to surprise me. My friend was the best man at our wedding, and his wife was my wife's maid of honor. Story 27. In my junior year of high school, I could attend any of the 3 retreats for students. I decided to go on the first one so it wouldn't interfere with tennis season. I met my wife on that trip. She was one of the leaders from the grade above me. Story 28. I spent time with someone I didn't like, which made me write him off. However, he reached out to me, changing my perception of him and leading me to give him a chance. This resulted in years of being a fake friend with someone I didn't truly care for, affecting my social circles during my childhood and into adulthood. Story 29. 10 years ago, I went roller skating with a friend who had invited me to the local rink. I didn't even know there was one in my area. We had a blast because I have loved roller skating since I was very little. Once the skating session was over, there was roller derby practice. I also didn't know there was even a team. I was surprised and excited to learn about it, so I stayed to watch. I ended up being so incredibly inspired that I immediately joined. I bought protective pads that night and was at my first practice within the week. Joining that community was the best thing I have ever done. I found strength and resilience in myself that I never knew I had. Within 2 months, I had quit the job I hated and went back to school for art. After 2 years, I was able to open my own business because my teammates supported me immensely. I tear up thinking about how incredibly different my life would be if that friend had never asked me to go. I don't think a single thing would be the same. Story 30. Leaving the meeting room after my former boss humiliated me during a break in front of my coworkers because I was overwhelmed with work at that time. I wasn't even thinking about disrespecting him at all. When he stopped talking, I simply removed myself and continued my break because I thought he was done. I ended up getting fired on the spot because he believed I was being disrespectful. That was 5 years ago, and now I have a better boss, a better job with much better pay, and fewer hours. I am less stressed too. Before I was fired, I never considered leaving that place despite it being toxic. Low self-esteem and a tough job market made me afraid of becoming unemployed, but I am so glad I am in a better place now. Story 31. I agreed to substitute in a co-ed softball game for one of my former coworkers. One of their regular teammates couldn't make it, so they needed one more woman to play. I do not play ball sports. I really just wanted to stay home with my cats and drink wine alone. I met my husband at that game. We have been together for 9 years and married for 5 as of June. Say yes to life, everyone. Story 32. I received a brochure in the mail for the local technical and further education college. I decided to return and complete a high school equivalency course. I needed to take an additional course, so I chose information technology because I enjoy computers as a hobby. The high school course was canceled, but I continued with the Certificate 2 in Information Technology course. Then I progressed to Certificate 3, followed by Certificate 4, and finally the diploma. They asked me to start lecturing Certificate 2 while I was studying for Certificate 4. This led to an entire career in information technology. I taught there casually, part-time, and full-time for 19 years until my health became a concern. I also ventured into teaching photography, working with doctors and nurses, teaching special needs children, and pensioners from the Lawn Bowls Club. I loved almost every minute of it, and I still haven't finished high school. Story 33. I was at my hospital job right after graduating and decided I needed to apply for a real job. I applied during a 15-minute break and received an email about an interview an hour later. I moved to a new city and I am going to start my PhD this fall. I likely got accepted because of this job too. It's amazing. Story 34. Saying no to friends who called me early one morning about going to the beach for the day. On the way to the beach, they were involved in a head-on collision caused by a driver who fell asleep. One friend died instantly, and the others were seriously injured. Story 35. I went to a festival and decided to take the larger tent for extra space. A spontaneous girl attended the festival, introduced through mutual friends. My tent was the only one with space left. We are now engaged. Story 36. I was studying for my anatomy exams, spending hours memorizing information. I don't know what drove me at that time, but in the middle of the day, I felt like having a shower. As soon as I stepped out, the building opposite my house exploded due to a gas explosion, causing debris and large stones to collapse onto my study desk. Everything was destroyed. I would have died or been seriously injured if I hadn't gone to the bathroom at that moment. Story 37. A friend of mine who worked for Intel tried to recruit me to join his development group, writing a C compiler for a new chip they had just designed, the Intel 386. I had just started a new job in Vermont that looked promising and really liked the area where I was living. So I thanked him and declined the offer. My life and career would have been completely different if I had moved to California, but I would never have met my wife and would never have been the dad to my two wonderful children. So I have no regrets. Story 38. Joining East has allowed me to make eye contact and present with confidence. It has brought me out of my shell and helped me meet and befriend some amazing people. Story 39. I joined a social media group and have made many friends and professional connections. I even had the opportunity to travel for free, which has completely changed the course of my career. Story 40. I listened to TOP's verse on Fantastic Baby after watching Squid Game 2 and realized this was really good. A couple of months later, I'm learning Korean and listening to Big Bang and TOP. Story 41. I enrolled in a half-day vocational school while in high school. I wasn't supposed to do this as a high-achieving student. I was very unhappy in traditional school. This choice influenced the college I attended, my major, and all my jobs and life directions since then. Story 42. Getting a puppy when my mom was recovering from lung surgery kept us both going through highs and lows for almost 15 years. Story 43. Just over 6 weeks ago, I realized I had left my glasses at home while driving between clients' homes. I didn't need them but decided to quickly stop back and grab them. I continued on my journey and ended up in a serious car accident. I'm not sure how much the injury will change my life yet, as it's early days, but I am fairly certain it will be quite different than before. Story 44. Deciding to speak up with confidence even when I felt unsure, and starting to exercise despite the jokes both seemed small at the time, but they ended up reshaping who I am today. Story 45. Saying yes to a random group project partner in college turned out to be a future best friend, job connection, and roommate all in one. Story 46. Trying to learn information technology in childhood was not a mistake for me, but I cannot be sure it was the best decision since I am still connected to the field. Story 47. My ex and I were pretty cordial, so I decided to go to a party he invited me to. This was about a month after our somewhat mutual breakup. He became very drunk and started saying really mean things to me in front of everyone, like that people were talking behind my back and that no one liked me. I kept my cool and left, casually asking the room if they could understand why I left him. Evidently, my calm demeanor caused one of the people in the room to be concerned enough to follow me home and make sure I was okay. We have been married for 10 years and have 2 kids. Story 48. Getting on the plane. It was my first holiday abroad on my own, and I was nervous. Not about anything in particular. I was okay with flying in foreign places, but it was a trip to walk the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. I completed the trek, and my tour group included my now wife. Had I not taken that trip, I wouldn't have such a great life, where I have been encouraged to travel further and improve myself. I wouldn't have proposed in front of mountain gorillas in Uganda. I wouldn't have delivered my own son on the bathroom floor. I wouldn't be in a much better job. I wouldn't be anywhere near as happy. Story 49. Truth or dare on the bus in high school. My former friends dared me to sit next to the unusual kid for the rest of the ride. Turns out he is really cool and we have been best friends for 25 years now. Story 50. I decided to go shopping after work instead of going straight home. I met a woman on the train who introduced me to Buddhism, and it changed my life. Story 51. I'm bisexual, but I had decided not to date men anymore. However, I crave the attention that comes from being liked by multiple men in one night. One guy stood out and took me on a date at a questionable Waffle House. Reflecting on it now, the atmosphere was quite unpleasant. That was in 2021, and now we're getting married this year. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.